And I was an introverted programmer that learned to be an extreme extrovert person that loves people. And here's a big idea and why when I saw your content, I was so adamant for other people. Like, as soon as somebody said the word Nashville, like, do you know Coach Burt? Nope. You do now.
I wrote a book many years ago called Person of Interest, which is interesting people. And I'm kind of looking for a sequel like Person of Expansion. And when I think of our guest today, Wall Street Journal bestseller, Dan Martell, this book and you are a person of expansion, my friend.
Thank you.
And I'm just excited to have you because I've been a coach for a long time. And you know the coaching business.
Yep.
And you know how to, I feel like people get in this vicious cycle because you have done a lot of things in your life, right? You've owned companies, you've exited companies. You built software companies. Yeah. I was going back listening this morning to podcast of you telling your story of, you know, all the stuff that you went through in life. Yeah. And then you sat down and became a coder, which is a very good primary skill. So what I'd like to do, Dan Martell, is Wall Street Journal bestseller, Buy Back Your Time. I'm listening to this on Audible right now. Is just I was thinking of questions I could ask you that nobody else has asked you.
Let's go.
Right? Because I know I do a lot of these and you do a lot of these.
Yeah. And
you're super cool, interesting dude. But more than anything, I wrote in my notes, man, you're a great connector.
Thank you.
Where did that come from? Like where did at some point, where did it come from that you go, man, I'm going to start connecting people? Because you've connected me to some great people.
Thank you.
And that, you never forget people that connect you to people. Like, where did that start in you?
I know exactly where it was. I mean, so you mentioned the programming background. I mean, writing code literally saved my life. You know, like we can get into the backstory or not. So I was in rehab, learned to code, got out, wanted to be in business, and just started. And unfortunately, like for the first 5 years, fail. Like it was almost like my dad was happy I was sober, but would beg me to like, you should maybe just get a normal job. And I'm like, I don't think I could ever work for somebody. I just have too many opinions about how things should be done. And on the third company, I finally read a business book. It's funny because I was reading computer programming books. I've read over 100, but I never thought to read a business personal development book. And I read this book called Love is a Killer App by Tim Sanders. It's kind of one of those underground books. Not a lot of people have heard of it today. But for me, because the term killer app as a software guy piqued my interest, and then his background was from Yahoo, which obviously I knew who they were. I was like, okay, this guy's somebody maybe I could connect with. And he had 3 core principles in this book. He wrote it because I remember eventually he's kind of became a mentor. And he told me why he wrote the book. He said, I wrote it for people that were like in a career that wanted to expand but didn't know how to do it. So here I am failing in business. And his 3 principles was 1, you should acquire knowledge. This is a big idea, not for you, but for your customers. That was a tweak that I still haven't seen a lot of people talk about. Don't read books to make your life better. Read books to make other people's lives better.
Yes.
And then you'll be a person that they seek out as a trusted advisor. Huge idea. So that started me on the reading path. Second idea was to be a good person. He called it love cat. Never got around that word. That word love cat just always felt a little weird.
That's an interesting.
Yeah,
that's an interesting.
He was into music. He was like, you gotta be a love cat.
Yeah,
he was a musician. So, but just be a good dude. Because like back then, I used to believe, like I think a lot of people that nice people finish last, and that you had to be ruthless and sharp elbows if you wanted to succeed in business. And he made a really strong argument for why that's not true. And then the third thing was the whole concept of your network is your net worth. And relationships. Now you gotta understand, I grew up in a small town in Eastern Canada above Maine, and I didn't have another friend that was an entrepreneur, let alone doing anything with their lives, positive. And I had such self-doubt that there was no way, I didn't feel worthy of reaching out to people. And I wish I would say that book opened me up to it, and I started. I didn't. It took another 2 years, and the book that finally I just kept reading, kept working on it, didn't fail in business, but I was like struggling. It was Keith Ferrazzi's book, Never Eat Alone. And that freaking book, dude, I will tell you, it's so funny because like thinking back on reading the book and hearing him argue what he argues, this guy is crazy. Like, I mean, 2 phones, networking, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then one of the big ideas in the book, he said, you should work out with people you want to be in business with. I said, well, you went and gone crazy.
Yes.
Like I can't even talk to somebody in a meeting, let alone invite them to see me sweat.
Right.
And You know, it's funny. You fast forward today, Coach Burt, I don't work out without another person.
Wow.
I do a founder's hike every Tuesday. You probably see on my Instagram. Every Tuesday, never miss. Anybody's invited. Come fly to Canada. Let's go hike. Workouts this morning, always with somebody else. Anybody that wants to meet with me that I don't know well, it's usually going to be in that environment because I got to do it anyways. Come along, hang out. And it has been a game changer. All the meals, I always invite people. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened is, even though I was nervous at first, and I remember the first time I asked a mentor for dinner, and it was just him and I, and I'm sitting in the parking lot for 45 minutes prior, just like prepping, writing down stuff here. Because I was like, I read How to Win Friends, and I was like, hey, be interested, not interesting. Yes. So I got to get the questions ready. And if I ask them about this, and I know where I got to go. But it's a skill. And I was an introverted programmer that learned to be an extreme extrovert person that loves people. And here's a big idea and why, when I saw your content, I was so adamant for other people. Like, as soon as somebody said the word Nashville, like, do you know Coach Burt? No, you do now. Right. I'm making an intro. I love being fans of people. Mm-hmm. And I find people that are too stuck up that says, oh yeah, don't be that person. You look too I'm like, you're stupid. I want to be fans of people. Yeah. I am a fan of people. Yeah. I'm going to tell them, I love your work. Because I think we get what we put out. So if you want to build an audience of people that like your work, you should start telling people you like their work. So every day I go through Instagram and I find stuff and I just let people know, hey man, I love that thing you said. Yeah. They're like, holy shit, I read your book. Oh geez, that's crazy. I like you. You like me.
That's right.
Cool. How can we help? So that's where it came from.
Well, a couple things that trigger when you said that is I was thinking when you were talking about the first book with Sanders about Keith Ferrazzi before you said it, because I was in Phoenix once at a presentation many years ago and Ferrazzi was a speaker. And he held up his phone. He said, I have 5,000 numbers in this phone right now, and all of these people would take my phone call. And I looked at my phone, and I had 686. And it's like,
and
man,
10% would take the phone call? No, just kidding.
That's right. And that's true. No, and it's like, okay, I need to get serious about building a network of people. Like, this dude's a pro, right? He's a real pro. But what you do for people is you open these doors that not only helps them become more known in the world because you're introducing them to key people, but it also leads to financial success for them, right? A lot of the people you've introduced me to, we've done some type of business together. Taylor Welch is renting my theater, for his events, and it all kind of goes back to you. And I think what that does is build such goodwill. You're really helping people advance their lives and by connecting people who are good people and need to know each other.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I love your stuff, Coach. You love to see people win.
Yeah.
Like, it's evident. That's why I watched your stuff, and I remember you were back in the day telling your story coming up, and just the way you talk to people and the way you coach, I could tell you would do it for them, but you can't.
Yep.
And it's funny because there are some people that teach through this lens of, here's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Pay me to touch the cloth. That's the way I think about it. They're cloth touchers. And I'm like, I never want to be that. I will teach you. You can have it too. Here's how it is. Don't worry. It's not as hard as you think it is. And that's why, when I see your stuff, you do that, right? And that's what, for me, I'm like, I want everybody that's awesome to know each other because I know great. Here's the bigger reason why I do this. It's kind of like when people see folks on the internet talking and they're like, that guy's full of crap. Here's my rule. If you see somebody doing something that's got a bigger audience and you don't agree with it, then that's a signal from your maker to go create your audience, to take that attention, to share the right way. So don't be upset about it. Get upset with yourself use that energy to become that person. So if I know there are people out there that are taking advantage of people doing deals, which there are, then my responsibility is to connect all the good people together so there's so many good deals to be had that those people never get taken.
Yes. That's a great philosophy. And it's working for you, and you're helping a lot of people. Now, as part of your story, how important do you believe it is to find a primary skill? Like, initially, I go back and look at all the people who have really done something big in the world. They all had a primary skill, right? When you go back to coding and learning that skill, and would you say that was your primary skill, and then you've kind of built these secondary skills on? And why do you think so many people never locate that? Because when I was listening this morning to one of your podcasts, it's like you saw this book, you got turned on to this coding, something happened, the switch was flipped, and it's like, boom, I'm interested. Now it's like, now I'm interested. But let's talk about that primary skill. And because you use that primary skill to continue to build, right? Everything that you've done. So talk about, why do you think people don't find that?
I think they know what it is. They don't want to give themselves permission to do it. right? Like my son right now is loving editing videos on CapCut.
Okay.
I'm pouring into that. Like he's paying for everything, the upgrades, the mods, all the stuff, but he found something he's obsessed about. I let him be obsessed about it. I think a lot of times people, and that's why when I hire people, I always ask them like, tell me about your childhood. What did you do at your time? I'm looking for people that have experience with mastery, musicians, athletes, right? Because they've proven through that, whatever, if they played high level tennis or whatever, that there's somebody that understands how to do delayed gratification, how to show up even when they don't. Like there's all these things and I think what happens if we can find things that we're obsessed about, for me programming, then sleep is optional. Yep. So then people are like, I'm tired. I don't want to do another podcast. I stayed up till 4 a.m. writing code and had to get up at 6 a.m. to go to school. Like I know I can do it because I did it. I just need something I'm passionate about. And most people that are burnt out in life, that's why, because they don't have anything that they're obsessed about. So primary skill for me, it's cool part about it is it's anything. Because it's not about the skill, it's about who you becoming a master of the skill.
Right.
So if you're asking me though, sales is the best one. Because sales it'll show up in every part of your life. I was more introverted. I got lucky. Like literally 1997, I learned how to code. I come out of rehab and I discovered this little tiny thing called the internet. That's just, I didn't build the internet. I didn't, but that was just how it happened. But if people were asking me today, I'd say, hey, yeah, marketing, sales, but just really allow yourself to, because a lot of people won't agree with you around you. They're going to go like, what's that little thing you're playing with? Even video games. Like I'm not, some people don't allow people to just do what they love to do. And I'm such a fan of just saying, find that thing. Even education systems, like I think every kid's homeschooled, whether the parents know it or not. That's like, but what I do is I try to find the thing my kids are passionate about or kids are passionate about and use that as the vehicle for education. So I think just most people have elements of it. They just don't allow themselves to do it. I mean, when you see these kids like, I don't know, his name is Ryan, this kid that opens toys. I think it's all like toys on. Ryan opened, whatever, YouTube channel. Just $35 million a year opening toys. Yeah. He really likes to open toys. Yeah. Hey, man, support that vision. I don't know. I just find it's like people dismiss it because sometimes it looks like it's too playful.
Well, let's go back to from the primary skill to building these things, these companies that could be sold. Was that intentional? Because I've been a coach for a long time, and most of this business has been trying to recalibrate the business, right? Because it's all built around me and my intellectual property, things like that. Now you see me building greatness factories because I really do think this could be a big concept.
For sure.
But I didn't start that way. I started like, hey, I'm a basketball coach. I've got a primary skill of activating the drive in people. I package it into books. Next thing you know, I'm speaking. Next thing you know, I'm coaching companies. On down the road, and then you go, man, I wish I would have built this differently. Did you build these companies from the beginning going, okay, I'm going to build this and exit it? Or did you just start building it and the next thing you know, where did that education come in to know these things?
I think like everything, you you kind of have a horizon on what you can believe. Like logically, like, look, I don't want to be a billionaire. Yeah, you do, but do you really believe it? No, you don't. You believe it maybe 2%. So let's just be honest. You can say it, you can affirm it, you could write it down, you could scream it at a seminar. That's cool. But so like my whole thing is when I started, I just like, it was just the first thing. I remember the first business, I just wanted to make $100,000 a year. Yeah. That would be incredible. Wow. That would have been the richest person in my family lineage ever. Mm-hmm. And then I did it. And then I was like, okay, what next? And then I remember reading Good to Great. And he said, have a BHAG. Okay, well, this guy's smarter than me. And he talked about companies that are like, the top companies. So I sat down and said, $5 million a year, 50 employees, 5 countries. I don't know why, just 5, 5, 5. I just wrote it down. There was no logic. I was just me and myself on a PowerPoint. Yep. And then we did it. And then at that scale, all of a sudden, there was a company in New Jersey that wanted to buy the company. I didn't build the company to sell it. I just built it because I was supposed to have a goal. So I wrote something down and I believe that was like logical. Give me enough time, it'll happen. Mm-hmm. But after I sold it, then I was like, okay, that was interesting. And then I started reading books about venture capital. Yes. So again, it's just mentorship, proximity to people, opening up my lens of what's possible. I moved to San Francisco. That was the biggest, like, drop the mic, like, what was the biggest decision ever that expanded your realm of possibility? Yep. Go to the place. If you're in finance, go to New York. If you're an actor, go to Hollywood. Yep. If you're in music, come to Nashville. I'm a software guy, San Francisco.
Right.
And I remember the first day I went to a coffee shop and I looked around and everybody had MacBooks and they were either working on pitch decks or writing code.
Yeah.
And I thought I had come home to the motherland. This is like, these are my people. Everybody had iPhones. This is like iPhone 2s. They weren't even available in Canada at the time. I was like, this is crazy. But what I learned there is you're not allowed to have an idea that isn't $1 billion potential idea.
Mm.
If you literally in San Francisco say, I got a startup and you don't say the word billion or unicorn, they will stop talking to you and turn around.
Yeah.
Because you're wasting their time.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was fascinating coming from a small town in Eastern Canada.
Yeah.
So I think over the years, it just kept expanding. And then after I exited my company, met a bunch of people like Naval, who a lot of people know today, Naval Ravikant, one of the first guys I met in San Francisco. He became kind of a mentor. And they had AngelList. And I'm talking to Naval, and he has he did like 75 angel investments. I'm like, how do you know that many people?
Right.
And then he's just talking about exiting companies. Then it's just language at dinner. So it's like, what's interesting is I actually think visualization's cool, and I do it. But I think speaking our future into existence is actually the activation of the vision.
Yes.
And that's what inherently happens. For example, you go out to networking events in San Francisco. What do people do? Hey, tell me what you do. Okay, so let me just think. I just wanted people to understand the context. I'm in San Francisco for 2 days, and I've been asked that question 36 times. I'm in small town New Brunswick. I haven't been asked that question in a month.
Yeah.
Isn't just that concept alone is fascinating to me. Just how many reps you have. You say, what do you do? You answer it. The person's like, what do you do? And you're like, okay, well, clearly I didn't say it right. So just in language. And what do you think that's going to turn into? Well, I think it's going to be this. Don't you think it could be bigger? Yeah, you're right. It probably could be bigger. Well, yeah, I think it could be that. You're right. Next guy asks you, what do you do? Do you think it'd be bigger? Yeah, it could be this. And it's like, yeah, I think so too. So I just find like getting around people that continue to expand. Even today, man, being here, seeing this, just doing all these pods, speaking, I think it's I won the lottery. This is the funnest thing in the world.
So if you were coaching people who were trying to make a strategic pivot, let's say, because I do an exercise A to B. A is your current position, B is your desired outcome. I do it every day, right? And in between is always who can help me. So if you were coaching someone through a strategic pivot that was in a business that they felt like was a vicious cycle they couldn't get out of, right? Yeah. What would you tell them to do?
Well, first off, begin with the end in mind.
Yep.
I'd say, okay, 10 years from now, paint me a picture of your dream life. Where you living, who you doing life with, what are you doing for work, blah, 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 blah. So I need to understand what the destination looks like. And then it's a really cool question, which goes to your point, is what do you think that person's day looks like?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, well, he probably does this. Like literally somebody achieved the thing you want to, like, do you think he works out? Yeah, he does. Are you working out right now? Mm-hmm. No. All right. What else? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You just said you want a beautiful relationship with your wife. Okay. What would need to happen for you to like, well, we need to be doing date nights. I need to be committed to her goals.
Yep.
And okay, cool. So all of a sudden you ask yourself, it's the gap, right? It's like, and it's really about the life. Like, what does the day look like? And then there's the gap. So then the middle is just like, how do we bridge that?
Yep.
So if the current thing you're doing isn't the thing you want to be doing, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Let's just figure out, like, in software world, a lot of people buy Apple products and they get pissed off when the laptops get rid of the Ethernet port.
Right.
Or they get rid of the mouse, or they turn, like, literally, I mean, it's just so funny because, like, I've been in it for so long. Just Apple is notorious for just shutting things off before anybody else will do it.
Right.
And the reason why is internally, they actually understand seasons of technology. Okay? There's the spring, there's the summer, there's the fall, and there's the winter. And they strategically get out early and make bets on HTML5 as a technology, for example, or, mobile with data. That was a big idea. The reason why BlackBerry won the mobile space is because their infrastructure was the lightest on the data packets because it wouldn't overwhelm the telcos.
Right.
But Apple knew that the telcos were going to upgrade to a higher level LTE and like all these new technologies because they're innovators and it's Moore's Law. And they built for where the network was going to go, not where it was. So when they did the iPhone, BlackBerry looked at it and said, that's stupid. That'll never work.
Right.
So the reason why this applies to people making a transition is because you need to understand what season you're in.
Yes.
And then figure out how do you ramp up the new thing without losing all the momentum you built in the first one.
Yeah.
So it's not like some people make the mistake is like, I'm done, throw their hands in the air, shut it down.
Right.
So dumb. Like, just don't do that.
Right.
Ask yourself what needs to be true for me to transition from this.
Yep.
It could be as simple as just calling somebody like an investment banker or accountant firm and say, hey, I need a valuation done on this thing. It's not working too good. How do I get it more profitable? Hire somebody to run it so I can get out of the day-to-day. Now you start looking like that future day you want to be like.
Yep.
And then ask yourself, okay, well, what is that new thing I'm doing?
Yep.
And then what seeds can I plant now in parallel? Because it releases if people get overwhelmed and they hate their lives because they don't have a future to look forward to.
Right.
In that moment, I coached a guy once. It was so crazy. The first call I had with him, it was like talking to Eeyore from friggin' Winnie the Pooh, man. I was like, I don't think I can work with this guy. It was like everything was sad and the sky's falling and he's having issues with his wife and I'm listening. And the exercise I do with all my first clients is literally the same thing. We got really clear on this process for vision. The next call, I don't know who I was talking to.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, were you sick or something? Like, what? Who's this guy on the call right now? Mm-hmm. He goes, man, I can't tell you. I've never felt more alive. So that's fascinating. You went from wanting to shut everything down and blow it up and blah, 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 to actually seeing how this becomes a platform for the bigger vision.
Right.
And now you're excited to pour into it properly so that's where the innovation cycle matters because you don't plant the seeds too early in the journey. You know, these entrepreneurs, I got multiple streams of income. Dude, you don't even make any money.
Right.
Stop yourself. Go be profitable first at something.
Right.
They're planting too many seeds at first. Just do one thing, get it going. And then as you see yourself like, okay, this isn't the big thing, but it's a good platform. Boom, plant some new seeds. The season comes down on that one. It's the right timing, right? And this is the reason why I'm very sensitive to this in software world. Being early is no different than being wrong. Right? If you're wrong, if you're early to the internet and you go and put 100 million, you become pets.com. Like there's just, I've just seen it. So even building the skill of understanding, okay, like where's these platforms at? How can I leverage this? Is the market, what's the interest rate? You know what I mean? Like there's timing that can accelerate things. But that's how I help people that are feeling a little, and then we just build the business to be sold because that's a great business to own. Like literally every business should be built to sell.
Yes.
So that it's fun to run. And then you don't have to sell it because you love it.
Do you see some people, and it's like this is their skill set. They're not this or they're not that, right? They really just need people around them who are very skilled at these things. Because I think we're in Nashville. The singers sing. Doesn't mean they're great at marketing. Doesn't mean they're great at art development. Doesn't mean they're great at building a team, right? And I've always saw myself more as an artist. Like in my early days, I was a coach. I built teams, right? And then I started to go, well, I really want to create, and I really want to spend time to myself, and I really want to be a creator, and I really want to just be a coach. And I don't want to run a company. You know, I don't want to do these things. I want to show up and coach people. Do you find that some people try to be something they're not? Like you know, and you probably coach those people and say, look, what 100%. You need here is chief of staff. What you need here is a sales manager. What you need here is this, so you can do what you're the best
talent.
at.
You're the talent. It's such a fun thing to do. Because people read the book and then they go, okay, sold. Now how do I do it?
That's right.
I'm like, it's chapter 5, but let's pretend you didn't read the book. But all right. So I start helping them buy back their time. And it's funny because they say they don't want to do it, but they keep showing up and doing stuff.
Yep.
Like one time I was talking to my assistant, Ann, who's here, and we were talking about some scheduling thing. And she looks at me and she goes, don't make my problem your problem. And I said, heard. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because she essentially said, you asked me to own this, and I am. Why are you asking me about it? And I was like, fascinating. Yet CEOs every day do that.
Yep.
You know, you can hire a chief of staff and still not empower them. And guess what? You're no better ahead.
That's right.
You can hire a COO. That's a new fancy thing. Everybody wants to, I need an integrator. It won't change you if you don't change the way you show up with these people.
Yeah.
So I like just understanding what's the frame. And I really think the talent frame is a beautiful way to get, because then you can start saying, okay, if I'm the talent, who is going to be running the management side? Who's doing the finance side? Because I don't want to do those things. They still have to happen. And I need to understand enough of it to be able to read reports so that I can understand if somebody's doing something nefarious. High level, great books like Simple Numbers by Greg Crabtree. I think it's a great book, finance. But here's what I see people have issues around. Is they rather spend, I will, at some point, I'm going to just start screaming this on stages. People are investing in a lifestyle over their lifestyle. Like, Coach, you see these people that are working their butts off, because they don't want to give up $300,000 a year to hire the person to actually do the thing, because that means they can't buy the new BMW. Like if people watch how much money I spend to buy my time, it's millions of dollars.
Yes.
To have my freedom. Yeah. So I don't spend that millions of dollars. I'm like everybody else. Yeah. It don't matter if I'm running $1 billion company or $500,000 a year company. Yeah. If you don't believe that your time is valuable and that buying it is a better investment than your summer home for now, until you build the business where that business easily buys you 3 homes, right? Then you'll always be at the mercy of the calendar. And that's the big thing. They don't want to defer the investment on the right people. They keep hiring below them. It's like right off the bat, when you get a certain level, a couple million in revenue, you should hire people that come with playbooks. Right. I'm not hiring people and having to train them up. That sounds like work. Right. I hire people and they tell me what to do. Yeah. Okay. At scale. When we start bottom up, I get that. But when you've got revenue and profit, and you know what's funny is, like, I was literally talking to an entrepreneur yesterday. She did 10 million in revenue. And she said, I'm making $100,000 a month, but it's costing me 110. Okay. Now, strategically, what did she do? She decided to go build a low ticket thing and run a bunch of ads to sell it. And she's complaining she don't have time to do the thing she loves to do. If she was coaching with me, I would have said, don't even do the low ticket thing because you're making a lot of profit. Take the profit, buy back your time so you can do the thing you love. Let the other person make the decision if they do the low ticket stuff or not. See, you decided to do it, so now you're running 3 different, you know what I mean? Like there's too much going on. Yep. You hate your day. You're dealing with people. You don't know how to do this thing. You're trying to learn it as fast time. These people are saying, hey, I don't feel appreciated. And you're like, what are you talking about? The patterns repeat. It's a vicious cycle, man.
You know, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then what do? They hit the pain line. They shut it all down. The business is always there. People that's like, oh, the market. No, you self-sabotage. Yeah. Blame whatever. You want to blame the interest rate? That's fine.
Well, we have a program called What's Next. It's grown relatively fast. It's typically $2 to $50 million companies. It's the leader of those companies, mostly mom and pop shops that are right. And it's like they're in this vicious cycle of trying to get to B, but they're not clear. They have a lot of opportunity confusion. Like, should I do this or should I do this or should I do this? They have no space. You know, when I'm listening to this in your book, I'm thinking about people don't have any space. Yep. They don't have any space to think. They don't have any space. Like me getting up at 4, working out at 5, being able to see my kids and wife from 6 to 7 before they go to school. Yep. I got space. Yep. I actually have space, and my days go better. Yep. Right? But it's like if you wait till 6, you rushed around, you got no space. Yeah. You're frustrated.
You're not present.
You're not present. You got things to do. You got to get into Nashville. It's like when I think about buying back your time, I think about all the space that you need, where the big ideas come from. When you're in a flow state, if you read, I remember many years ago reading a book about self-made billionaires, and all of their big ideas happened when their mind was free.
You use the magical word, billionaires. See, I think a lot of people study millionaires and they're screwing themselves for it. Yeah. I don't study millionaires. Yeah. Billionaires act different. Yes. Billionaires have space to explore.
That's right.
They're the Rick Rubins of the music world. Right. Where they wander. Jeff Bezos, I putter. Yeah. I wake up and I putter in the morning. Yeah. People are like, how do you do that? I do freaking cold plunging and 1,400 pull-ups, and I held a nostril and meditated. Yeah. Like, he's just like, I wake up, I like to putter in the morning. Yeah. Because here's what I've learned a long time ago. Every person is one creative idea away from being wealthy. One song, one video, one idea, one soundbite, one hire, one whatever. One away from the whole thing happening. And if you're in this mode of incremental improvement, it doesn't work. I'm going to go nerdy, but I want people to Google this term. It's called local maxima. Okay. In software engineering, there's this framework, this model around algorithms and improvements. Because I'm a nerd, so I think everything's an optimization routine. What are my beliefs and values? What am I optimizing for? You could almost predict the future based on if you know what that is, right? Because you're going to prioritize things differently. The challenge with algorithms, just like AI, and this is how AI became AI, is it finally figured out how to get away from the local maxima problem. Think about mountains, right? If I'm climbing a mountain and I go and I've got this algorithm that says, how many feet of elevation am I making per day? I'm going to get to the top of the mountain, and that's the algorithm's going to stop, because it's like, that's the local maxima. The challenge is that there's a bigger mountain over here, but to get to that mountain, I got to go down. And the only way to do that is if you also add to the algorithm the opportunity for it to explore, right? And that's the tricky part. It's like, how much exploring do I let it to do? Because then it's inefficient, because then it's not finding the top of the mountain. And I tell people all the time, if you're not looking, this R&D budgets in companies, it's usually about 10%, 10, 15%. Like, you need space in your calendar to just take a random call, to sit down on a bench, to call somebody that just came to your heart, to send a message to a guy on Instagram that you resonate with and say, dude, I love your content. And just trust that that's actually part of the plan. And I just, when I see people like Oliver Anthony, for example, Richmond, north of Richmond, I love his story. Here's a guy that literally was struggling with alcohol, lived in a trailer, drove a 20-year-old car, had been playing music his whole life. And then he just got fed up. And he goes, all right, God, I clearly am not capable of running my life. I'm going to give my life to you. And then the other thing he did, which I think is beautiful, he said, I stopped making it about me. I started making it about other people. And in that decision, he's playing a set at a campfire almost. It looked like, I think it was recorded on an old Samsung Pixel phone, and it uploads to TikTok. And that song changed his life.
Wow.
One creative idea away from anything you want. But you're not going to find that if you're too busy doing.
That's right. So let's compare that with if you had a lot of opportunity, how do you choose your opportunities that you pursue?
Favorite question.
This, I call them level 10 opportunities.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, how do you avoid this opportunity confusion? You can go in a lot of directions. It's like, because I spent a lot of time thinking like, okay, what do I do? Do I scale this concept of the greatness factory? Do I do this? Do I do this? And I think a lot of the people I coach, which is why I wrote the book From A to B, just a small book about helping people get clear. It's just 15 questions. Yeah. And so how do you choose these opportunities?
I always begin with the end in mind.
Okay.
My biggest fear, because I truly believe with enough time, I'm just determined I can do it. But it's just, what am I optimizing for? So it's fascinating, right? It's like sometimes and often we hear this analogy of people climbing the ladder of success. And they work and they show up and they have grit and they get to the top of the ladder and they realize, oh, it's leaning against the wrong wall. Yeah. And where I wanted to end up is across the room. Now I got to come all the way back down the ladder, across the room, reposition the ladder and start that climb. Do all the same stuff you just did. It'll be faster to get to the place you go. So I continuously ask myself, what do I want that destination to look like? Because if I don't, I will optimize for something because I can, and it's easy, and it sounds fun. It sounds fun? I should get a jet. I want to travel around the world. I want to go visit all my friends. Blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, oh, I did that, and now I have to.
Yep.
I have to, but I don't. But then it's like, but I actually am not. I want to see my kids, or I want space to go snowboarding, all right? It's like, so I got to be careful.
Yes.
So what I do is when I look at these level 10 opportunities, I just ask myself, is it the right season?
Yes.
So I don't say no, I just say not now.
Yes.
And so I'll put them into buckets and go like, because somebody said once, I read the book Die With Zero by Bill Perkins. Such a great book. I think my book and his book are just like a perfect combo. And his argument is that there's the go-go years, kind of 55, 65. There's the slow go years, 65, 75. And then there's the no-go years, kind of further on. Now, if you're healthy like we are, we get a lot more of that back end. But for most people, statistically, the back end, we ain't dropping cliffs on the backcountry snowboard. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things you might want to front load. And even that concept of understanding the seasons we're in, like you have a family, got a young family. My kids are 10 and 11. I only got like 5 or 6 years before they don't want to hang out with dad the way they do. Right. So I'm not going to do anything that's going to sacrifice that time. I'll just, not now. In regards to like what I take on, I'm always looking for things that are going to expand me.
Yep.
That's rule number one. I'm not doing more of the things I've already done. I need to do it in a different way where I know I'm going to add some skills, stack some skills. I want to stack some skills. So like recently when the book came out, and the book absolutely transformed my life because I thought maybe a few thousand people would read it. We're number, I think, 4 in the world right now for business.
Wow.
Yeah, it's building momentum.
Yep.
And there's this great philosophy, or maybe it's a quote that says, sometimes God prepares you to receive the things you've been asking for.
Mm-hmm.
So in the heart of it all the challenges and setbacks, sometimes he's actually getting you ready to receive.
Yep.
And I think of all the challenges I've gone through my whole life to be able to even write that book. And then when it did so well,
Right.
Wall Street Journal bestseller, and then continues to sell more copies each week, I asked myself, is this God giving me the thing I've been asking for, which is to have an impact on the world way bigger than business?
Mm-hmm.
And am I going to dishonor that opportunity? So a year ago, I sat down and I said, I think this is the time to go all in on media.
Mm-hmm.
And because people go, what does that mean? I go, well, I knew I was amateur hour. And I'll tell you why I knew I was amateur hour. I was bragging about how little time I was doing in it. That's how I knew I was an amateur. Yes. I would tell you, hey, I shoot 16 videos in 2 days.
Right.
I'm very efficient. I spend no time on this, and I outsource this. I was bragging about it. Mm-hmm. And I know creatively that's actually not how you create great work.
Right.
So I looked at my bank account and I said, how much money am I spending on this stuff? Maybe $5,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is a lot to some people.
Right.
On my scale, that was the smallest expense I had almost monthly.
Right.
And where in my calendar am I spending devoted time? There was no time. There was like these batch windows here, maybe every 6 weeks, once every 2 months. And I just made a decision, decided, like Stephen Pressfield writes about, I just decided to go pro.
Yep.
And pro for me was big financial investment. Big. Yep. We got a studio, almost 5,000 square feet. Yep. It's ours. It's called Martell Studios or Martell Media. It's just us. Called Sam, my business partner. I made him my business partner. Said, Sam, we're doing this, but I need you to move. He drove 3,500 miles straight, 48 hours straight, didn't sleep, him and his buddy Matisse. They moved there, ended up in my basement. My wife was like, how long? I said a week. I lied. Might have been a little longer. But and the reason why I decided to do that is I knew that was the next level skill. I had to be okay being me 24/7 for everybody to.
Nice.
That was it. And in the last year, we've put almost $1 million to work. We've had last month 36 million views on our content.
Nice.
That would never happen if I didn't go pro.
So where does this go? You know, because I'm contemplating on the next book I want to write, and I've got 2 different paths I want to go down. Where is the end of this take people? Because obviously, in my world of coaching, they read the book, activates the interest. They want to be coached by us, right? Like that's where it goes. Now I'm getting into bigger deals and more equity deals and all kinds of other things, which I want to come back and ask you about. Do you like those or not like those? As far as coaching goes, what I would call venture coaching, without putting capital in. So where does this, when you wrote this, it's like, okay, this is where people are going to do. What do you want them to do when they read this book? Do you want them to work with you in some way? Do you want them to be in your programs? Do you want to partner with them? Like, what's your strategy?
Well, so there is a business behind the book because, I'm not a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny because like I do the videos for the kids. Mm-hmm. So my passion is troubled youth because that's my background. Mm-hmm. But I also know that more people supporting that is a bigger idea. So the bigger the audience I can build, the better I can do there. So I do have a coaching program behind it. Our media company, the way I say it is that we're a media company that happens to do coaching. We're not a coaching company with a marketing department.
Nice.
That's the nuance.
Yes.
So if there's a budget conflict, media wins every time. So I actually hired right off the bat, because this is what I teach in the book. So I have a GM, Todd. We call him Single D because he only got one D as his name. I don't know why, but that's Todd. So Todd runs the company, and I have 2 engines. I got the revenue team and I got the media team. Sam runs the media team, and I've got a revenue team that's run by Jay. And essentially, and then I coach. But I know what my time's worth. So I have a couple programs that keep it super simple. And people that want my support on buying back their time, they can reach out to me on Instagram and we'll have a conversation and see if they're a fit. I keep it really simple. The way I think about creative work is I know there needs to be strategy, but like even my next book, and the reason why I wrote that book and not a software book is everybody's like, oh, you're writing a book. So you're going to teach us how to build our software companies. I said, no.
Right.
Well, they're like, dude, that's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, aren't you a thought leader in software? You got a #1 YouTube channel. I go, I don't want to write. I personally don't want to write that book. So what I do, this is Dan's approach, is I listen to my heart. Yeah. And whatever I feel like talking about, I just talk about it. Yep. And then I'm like, I workshop it, right? I was hanging out with John Maxwell a few weeks ago, and he said, Dan, he's such a cool dude. He's like my spirit animal. John is the coolest dude in the world. He's so great. So he goes, there's writers who speak and there's speakers who write.
Yep.
He goes, I can tell you are a speaker who writes.
Yes.
He goes, what you need to do is just speak more and then have somebody else listen, grab the gold, put it in a place, and you will literally write your books the more you're out there talking.
Yes.
And I immediately was like, that probably will change my life. I want it. John's written 90-some books.
I know.
He's the GOAT.
Yep.
Like, when it comes to what he does, it is beautiful to watch. He gave me the key to the castle.
Yes.
So we just hired that guy yesterday.
There you go.
I want somebody that watches my content, listens to everything. They hear it, because you know how it is, Coach Burt. We're in flow. You're doing Q&A. I know this happens to you. You're in Q&A after you do a talk and somebody asks you a question and you just feel connected to a creator and just boom, and it comes out. And I remember one time I was at an event and some guy at the back goes, "Say it again, Dan." And I go, "Dude, I don't even know what I just said."
Yeah.
Because it was channeled. I literally, it just comes out of you. Now I have somebody like John has who listens to it, grabs it, and puts it in this bucket, this category.
Yeah.
So then when I go to write my book, I've already talked about, I got my stories, got my frameworks, got my ideas, got my quotes. Dude, you're like world class. That is your gift. And I know you know it because you talk about it, the packaging.
Yep.
So then for me, I think strategically I think this is where I'm at with coaching. I think it's the coolest thing in the world. And I think it might go against what some people teach. Okay. And I understand why they teach it, but I'm just going to throw this out there. You may not agree with me.
Okay.
I believe that we are all capable of being us at the highest level. And there are people that look at us and resonate with our filter on the world. And they want to learn our life philosophy through our filter. And every human being has the potential to be a coach for somebody that's 2 or 3 steps behind them.
Sure.
And then the focus is really just about learning how to be authentically you. See, what most people mess up is they think, well, I got to go do this thing this way. And I'm like, you should just talk about you.
Right.
So if you like last night I was having dinner with a guy and he's like, he was a real estate agent in transition. It's like, I don't know what I want to do next. I said, yeah, you do. He goes, well, I go, you should just go be you.
Yeah.
Well, why would people want to do that? I said, dude, you were a top real estate agent. He goes, yeah. I said, could you teach other people? He goes, I've done that. I said, cool, you could do that. What else you like? It's like, I like guns. I said, how many guns you got? I don't know. I said, dude, you have so many guns you don't even know. I'm from Canada. I don't own a gun. I was like, that's kind of cool. I was like, what's your favorite gun? Same answer. He doesn't know. He has that many guns that he loves that are his favorite guns. I was like, dude, just be you. Every person you admire, Joe Rogan, The Rock, Oprah, I will tell you why you love them. Coach Burt. Yeah. It's because that's who they are.
That's who they are.
There ain't no strategy. There's no veneer. There's no acting. There's no mask. This is he's who he is. Yep. That's how he talks. That's what he thinks. And when you see it, you admire it. And all we're doing is we're trying to be a mirror for other people to step into who they are, their greatness. So I think personally, the future, and it's not even the future. I just think it's always been there. We've just been kind of confusing some stuff. We just got to allow ourselves to be us more and go through the discomfort and have the courage to put it out to the world. Because I'll tell you, man, it's been fascinating to watch how people respond to you. Like just 36 million eyeballs, I now have what people would call haters.
Right.
I don't call them that because I don't like that word. I just call them confused.
Yeah. Well, it's true. You know, it's as you start to grow on the social media, you do get a lot of that, right? And I remember working with Kevin Elko, who was Saban's psychologist at Alabama, and we were on tour together, and we would share stories like what do you coach Saban on?
What a legend.
It was really fascinating.
Dude, I'm jealous.
And it'd be so cool. We'd be going down the road and phone ring, and he'd say, Nick's calling. Yeah. I got to take this call.
Dion just
and I was like, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Here's the greatest coach ever going to a coach. And he's like, I need to do this. I need to do this. And he used this phrase of thank you, I owe you. They would teach the players at Alabama when somebody did something like good, it's like, thank you, I owe you. But I interpreted that as, thank you, I owe you because you put a little extra steam in the engine. The haters can put that steam in the engine, right?
Heck yeah.
It's like, okay, thank you, man. I needed that.
Yeah.
I got a little complacent. Thank you. I needed that. So when you think about a time when you almost lost something, because I'm going to be honest with you, building this thing scared me to death.
Dude, this is a real financial.
I told my wife one night, I went home one night just very discouraged because this thing was supposed to be done in October of last year. It's cost me, in the millions. And I went home one night and I said, this would break a lot of people financially, number one.
Yep.
But it would break more people emotionally. You know what I'm saying? So when was a time in your life, because you had this really interesting, childhood where you went through, where you went through these things, cut off here for some reason in my ears.
I hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So you went through this period of your life where you learned all these things as a time, and then you had like I'm out. I'm tired of being an amateur. I'm going pro. Yeah. Since you started building the businesses, have you had some seasons where you thought you were going to lose everything, or you were scared to death, or has that been a common thing for you as you built these things? Like, I mean, this is scaring me to death. Like building this thing is like, I called my accountant the other day and I go, man, my cash is depleting. You know what I mean? Because I'm used to having a lot. I'm used to having a lot of cash,
and you're used to the cash building.
That's right.
That's a difference.
And she's like, well, you've taken a lot of your cash and put it in this asset, and it hasn't had time to. In the long run, this thing's going to work. So tell me about some of those times.
I think the biggest blessing that I have, and I know for a fact it's why I have achieved what I've achieved, is because I had such a huge setback as a teenager. Mm-hmm. I had the blessing of nobody expecting anything from me.
Interesting.
It was the amount of teenagers I talk to today, mm-hmm. and the amount of struggle they face with the expectations they feel from their parents and their friends. I had none of that. As long as Dan stayed sober, they thought I was winning. Okay. So anything better than not being dead in a ditch.
Yes.
Winning.
Wow.
So because of that, this is what's fascinating to me. The other day I was on my road bike and I was going by this girl I used to date, her parents' house, and they had a modest, beautiful home in the country, 1,200 square foot home, mm-hmm. and they took care of it. And I remember I would eat dinner at their house, and they were just flabbergasted by me. They couldn't understand, how do you do that? And da-da-da-da-da. How do you take risks?
Yeah.
And it occurred to me, this is what I want people to understand. This is 30 years after the fact, 25 years after the fact, I saw them on the front yard. That's why I was like, oh, wow, they're still in that house 25 years later, tending to the garden like they always did. Nothing wrong with that. But I could tell in their questions, they had some dreams.
Yep.
You can just tell. How do you do that? That's so crazy. That's fascinating. That would scare me. But you could tell, I always thought I could have done this. And what I realized in that moment, that where they were is where they were. And so they didn't go to, and just if they failed, they would end up right back where they were.
Right.
So here's the deal, dude. You already who you are before you started this. This is what I know about everybody. Yep. You have an identity of who you are.
Yep.
And I could take it all. I could just say, hey, coach, sorry, but we're going to clear out the bank accounts. We're going to take your real estate. We're going to grab your house and all that stuff. And money, I buy your stock.
Yep.
Because I know who you are. You have a belief of what you deserve. Right. As long as you protected that. The risk is when people go through a downside, they start believing all these things that they're feeling.
That's right.
It ain't who they are.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when I do my work, and I work with a lot of people where they've had this happen to them, 9-figure CEOs get kicked out of their company through their board.
Right.
They've never done anything else. What I've done for 23 years, what do I do with my life? I go, dude, you are a weapon.
Yes.
Let's talk about this. You built a $600 million year company.
Yep.
23 years. Dude, know what you know now. How much faster could you do it a second time? Oh, geez, probably in a third of the time. I know, because that's everybody.
Right.
Because you now know what your identity is set at.
Yes.
So I think for me, when I've gone through those moments, and I have them all the time, I am not immune. You cannot desire to build great things in life and not have things show up, monsters.
Right.
Every time they happen, I just remind myself a few things. One, the bigger the monster, the bigger the hero. Mm-hmm. The bigger the challenge, the more I can grow. Mm-hmm. God is getting me ready in this moment to receive what I've been asking for.
Right.
And I sit there and the thing happens and I go, ooh, we're the opponent. Fine, because you know how it is, man. Yeah. Sometimes we just feel like we know how to do it.
Right.
We're doing it. I know how to write a book. I've written a lot of books. I wrote another book. Okay. But what happens is that sometimes you see something happens and you go, ooh, all right, I get to grow in this season. Yeah. So that's what we're here for. So that's how I try to resolve it for people because I got so much proof points of that. I don't worry about it too much, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm like everybody else. When I get, I call it ninja kicked. Yeah. When I feel like somebody ran across the room, jumped in the air and ninja kicked me right in the chest.
I love it.
I just try not to make it a day or a week problem.
That's right.
Make it a moment.
Yeah.
And I get back up and I go, okay, cool. That's not cool. Next time I'm going to move to the side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I see you coming. I'm going to move. And then I'm going to just move forward. And I always say, what can I control? I can't control what's happening right now. I can control how I respond, and I can control what I do.
Yep.
And it turns out if you wake up and you attack your day at 4 a.m, you build the list, you go to the gym, you get your head straight, You show up for the people, you go to gratitude, you go to your creator, you go to all these things, and you just work at it. You always get through it. There's never been a moment, I know this for you for a fact, that you've been pushed into a corner and not made it work.
Right.
Never.
Yep.
So I'm not worried. Like, I love that you felt that.
Yeah.
Because that just means you just went into the dojo.
Yeah. That's right.
You got, you worked on some moves. And that move is going to help you get ready for the bigger thing, because this is just the beginning.
That's right. Well, I think that's a great place right there to interview. I thought it was great, man. That was incredible. Well, I think about fantasizing and catastrophizing, because I had a coach for a period of time, and I think certain personality styles can go to negative town quick. And it's because they have the gift of vivid visualization. They can really see it.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't move at the pace, they go into catastrophizing. And the one thing that really cures that is movement, action. Yeah. Small incremental steps, one conversation, one follow-up, get into an action, right? That's really what cures that problem.
Yeah.
So thank you, man, for coming to Nashville.
It's an honor.
And you're such a cool dude, man. Not only are you just one of the smartest dudes out there, but you're just a good, genuine, cool dude who's out doing big things. And you're big inspiration. Thank you for coming to the Greatness Factory. And I know you're doing more podcasts and interviews here. Make it a great stay for you, and I look forward to doing bigger things with you.
Appreciate it.
Dan Martell, everybody. Buy back your time. And I know why this book is hidden, because so many people are in that vicious cycle, and they're trying to figure out how to get this back. So you've really struck a chord with people here on this book. So get the book, follow Dan, and let's keep that thing from 36 million to 50 million to next thing you know, it'll be 100 million, brother.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you very much. Coach Michael Burt, person of expansion, live from the Greatness Factory here in Nashville in the Level 10 studio.